Good morning, everyone. We welcome you all to the second day of Phase 3 STTP program. We would like to introduce the speaker of today's session, Dr. Anu Appaiah, who is the head of Food Production and Infestation Control, Central Food Technological Research Institute, Mysuru. Sir's major area of works are wine and alcoholic fermentation, waste management, and utilization through microbial bioprocessing. To his credit, he has published more than 62 publications in peer-reviewed journals and 12 book chapters. He has also handled many externally funded projects of around 11, and he has also been co-PI for 7 projects. He has guided more than 10 PhD students and more than 100 of MSc students. He has also been a part for the process development for the industrial use, such as process for the preparation of Garcinia wine, management of coffee pulp effluent, production of banana juice, banana wine production, banana alcohol production, orange wine production, and so on. He has also been the member of many expert committees, such as Scientific Committee FSSAI, Scientific Panel on Water, Scientific Panel on Alcoholic Beverages. He's also served as panel member of experts by FSSAI to advise states and UT to set up food testing labs. He has been the Technical Expert Committee member for Karnataka Planters Association and Coot Planters Association. He is a member of BOE and BOS of Microbiology and Biotechnology of many universities. Sir, on behalf of the college, management, principal, department, faculty and students, we welcome you to the session, sir. The session is over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for the warm introduction. Okay, to all the participants, I'll take a few minutes because I've been with the FSSAI from a very long period of time. So we take it as a mandate as members of the FSSAI and chairmen of various committees of FSSAI to propagate the philosophy of FSSAI. And then what is that FSSAI and what do we stand for? So I'll take around 5 to 7 minutes or maybe at the most around 10 minutes before I dwell into the subject that I've chosen here. Okay, definitely I'll not be talking about wine or alcohol or any of the waste management systems or microbiology. I'll be talking totally something different for all of you, being you all coming from technical universities. Okay, I've been a member of the Committee of Technical Universities also. So I feel that I know you all well. And if ever there's any questions, you can always put it in the portal so that once the talk is over, we can take up each of these questions and I'll try to answer each and every query of yours. You can also ask me any of these queries also. What we are going to talk about today is, as I said, we'll talk a little about FSSAI before we go into our subject. Now, are we really literate or educated when it comes to food labels? Now, why I put this title, literate or educated? Literate is something that we know how to read and write, but educated is something that we can understand. So when it comes to food labels, are we really in that league wherein we can understand and see that we read the label and understand the label? First of all, what is FSSAI? I'm sure that all of you know what is FSSAI, but then just to recap, this is the new food law that came into being in 2006, but came into existence or got implemented in 2011. So it's a long way and we're still bringing quite a lot of mandates and what needs to be done and what should not be done and so on and so forth. Now, if you look at a pack of any food, any processed food or any packed food, we normally tend to look at only 2 things or at the most 3 things. One, the expiry date or date of manufacture. The second, the MRP. And sometimes we also look in as to what is present in that. So today I'll be insisting on these labels and why these labels are important for us. And how do we see to it that these labels are very, very important for us? There is going to be a total revolution in the food packaging and food labeling from April of next year, where many of these informations, what we are going to talk now, is going to be put in the front of the pack itself. So normally on a food label, you will have date of marketing, product name, net weight, ingredient list, nutrition information, usage instruction, and manufacturer details. We normally don't ever look into this ingredient list, nutrition information, and managing manufacturer details. But we do sometimes look into the usage instructions also. But it's very, very important for us to look into the ingredient list and the nutrition information. I'll explain to you what is it. Now, quite often reading a label is very, very tricky. Many times being members of these committees, we also get fooled looking into some of these labels. Many times you have a claim like sugar free. Then there are ingredient lists are given in codes. Now we never look into the serving size, whether it is 1 serving or 100 grams. Now, quite often there will be a claim saying that no cholesterol. I'm sure that you all know in plant oils, there are no cholesterol. Plant oils do not contain cholesterol. Only animal oils contain cholesterol. Plant oils contain phytosterol, which when we consume gets converted to cholesterol in our body. So what is the great meaning of claiming no cholesterol? And quite often sugar is given in various names. Many times you may not understand that name. It can be cane sugar, invert sugar, corn sweetener, dextran, molasses, so on and so forth. And then many times we get fooled with that. The bottom line is that you need to be looking into this label and clearly understanding what it is. Now look at these labels here. It says low sodium. Now, the actual sodium percentage is 28%. Low sodium is 14%. What is the sodium required for us? That we never look in. So just because the label contains reduced sodium, we think that it contains low sodium. Actually, it still contains 14% sodium, which is very, very high. And look at the serving size. 2 servings per container and serving size is 237 ml. So whereas the value is in percentage. So 237 ml is 1 serving at the rate of 14%. So you need to be calculating. You are actually getting more than around 34 milligrams of sodium. So this needs to be looked in very carefully. And many times, even though we say that we don't allow genetically modified material in our food, many times it still contains some of these materials. Now, if you look into the ingredient list, it clearly says contains genetically modified soybean oil. Now, you would biotechnology faculties and students would argue with me saying that oils will not contain any of the this one, what is that, genetic material. So why are you worried about it? The oil constituent itself may be different because of the genetically modified soy. Under such conditions, you need to be looking into it very carefully. Now, many of these companies, I'm not taking the name of the company here. This is true with every company. Many of the companies have different labels for different countries based on that particular country's requirement. If you look into a US label, now you'll find that the sugar is declared there, but in an Indian label, sugar is not really declared. So, and then many times the food acid 338 is put. What is that food acid 338? How do you find out? Then sweeteners 951, 950, so on and so forth. How do you really find them? Preservative 211. All that you have to do is just take out your phone, open the Google put that number. Either it can be INS, or it can be CC, or it can be SS or IN. You just put food ingredient and put that number, you will get it. When you are drinking any cola drink, irrespective of which company it is, please remember coffee contains only 2.6% caffeine, and that's natural caffeine. Whereas any cola drink contains 3.5% caffeine. And it also contains 0.25% phosphoric acid. For young children, what we do is we try to teach them in the schools when we are teaching. We tell them that if you can bring a milk tooth, we invariably request the teacher to collect a milk tooth, because these young children will have milk tooth and there will be one or the other child who will be losing it. So we bring that and put it into a glass of the cola drink with the milk tooth and put that milk tooth inside it. By 15 minutes, the milk tooth is totally gone. That means to say it is dissolved. That's the content of phosphoric acid that is present in a cola drink. Then we ask them, what do you understand? Now, this same thing for college students, we give a challenge. Now you can't file a case on me, but then if you want, you take a challenge. You keep any of the cola drink in your mouth for more than 15 minutes. You will have your dentures completely damaged for your lifetime. You will have sensitivity. Many of you will have tooth decays, everything. And the sensitivity starts the minute you have crossed 5 minutes. Your teeth become extremely sensitive, and please remember, it is irreversible. It's permanently for your life. So this acid regulator 338 is actually phosphoric acid, and it contains 0.25% phosphoric acid. I don't have to tell you what is that phosphoric acid. Quite often we buy juices. If ever it is cranberry juice or blueberry juice, the cost of that juice is quite high, much higher than the normal juice. But please look into the label. That juice content of that cranberry juice concentrate is just 2%. The rest, it is equivalent to 13% of the fruit juice content. What about the rest? The rest is sugar. And quite often you'll find that there will be one more added word, fruit pulp or fruit juices. Please be assured this fruit juices or fruit pulp means it is either papaya juice or any other very locally available, very cheap juice. Do you really have to pay that much of money? I'm not saying don't buy it. You have every right to buy whatever you want. It's your money, it's your health, it's your lifestyle. But then please remember, you should be knowing for what you're paying your price for, what you're paying your money for. Quite often we see this multigrain atta and we buy that. The cost difference is anything between 20 to 30%. But if you look into the ingredient list, you'll find that 90 to 95% of the multigrain atta is only wheat. The rest 5% or at the most 9% is the rest of the multigrain. So do we really have to pay that money of 20 to 30% extra for that? Please Google these numbers and see what they are. Acid regulators, gelling agents, preservatives. Then you really know what you're actually paying for. Are you really paying money for the product that you're buying, or are you paying for something else? Many times we'll have a lot of claims. There will be claims like light, multigrain, natural, organic, no sugar added, low calorie, low carb, made from whole grains, so on and so forth. Please read the ingredient list. If the first 3 names do not identify with the names, say that it is made from whole grain wheat. If the first 3 doesn't contain the whole grain as the ingredient, then the amount of whole grain is actually negligible, but they have claimed it. So, and then gluten free. This is something that I found it very, very funny. Why should people be eating gluten-free when you're not gluten tolerant or intolerant? Gluten-free has to be taken only for those people. Hello? Hello?
Please continue.
Hello? Can you, audience, can you please mute yourself? Yeah, thank you. So, please look into the food label before you actually buy them. I have no right of telling don't buy it. You have every right to buy what you want, but our only concern is please pay your money for what you are paying for. Know what you're paying for. Understand what you're paying for and then pay. Now I'll come into the topic of my choice today. Now this is about startups. Project to startup, is it feasible? A college project, can it become a startup? Is it really feasible? And how do we go around doing it? This I'm telling that with the confidence of being a mentor for around 6 to 7 startups, many of them by young students, many of them by slightly older people, and spread all over the country. It's not just in Karnataka or in Mysuru. I have one startup in Odisha, one startup in Goa, and one startup in Tamil Nadu, all that. So being a mentor of all these startups, I thought I'll share some of these things with all of you so that you can also become, I'm sure that many of you are already mentors of many of the startups. So you can also be startups. And then how do we really go around with that? First thing is, when you're giving a project for your students, never choose a topic yourself. Allow your students to choose the topic. Let that be an exercise. Give them at least around 15 days or 1 month's time so that they can come with a proposal. After 1 week after announcing that you choose your own proposals or your own projects, let them come. Have a brainstorming in the class. Let them talk to each other and then come out with around 8 to 10 proposals. The rest can be clubbed into that. And then it becomes very, very important that these students who are now with a lot of enthusiasm because they have chosen a topic of their choice can now become a real engines for searching a topic and going forward. Now, shortlist the number of projects as per your requirement. You cannot have 25 projects because you cannot lead the 25 projects. Probably around 2 to 3 projects you take and the rest of it. Every teacher can do this exercise and get it. Now, how do you shortlist a project? Is it novel? Is it something that is totally different? Is it too large? If the project becomes extremely large, then you will not be able to complete it. Is it too ambitious? Quite often, what we consider as ambitious need not have to be ambitious. But then keep this in mind. The most important thing is, does the project have a clear objective? Now, see to it this project, whatever you are choosing, has leads from multiple fields. If you are thinking of biotechnology, let there be a small part of mechanical engineering there. Let there be a small part of artificial intelligence or IOI, whatever it is. Because don't worry about whether they'll be able to do it or not. The students are quite resourceful. They'll talk to their friends in various departments and get this done because it is their own project. It's dear to them. But if you are giving a project, then it's just a project for them. They will not really seriously take it. They'll just do it for the sake of doing it. And then ultimately down the line, it's giving a dissertation in your hand and getting some marks out of it. But if you have chosen their own project, there is sweat and blood in that also. There is a lot of enthusiasm with the students. And when you're trying to discuss these projects, they will come out with all guns blaring to see that each one's project is selected. then you will really see that some very, very interesting and very, very enthusiastic projects do come out. Now, quite often as teachers, we overlook science to technology shift. What is science and what is technology? Can a good science make a good technology? Or a good technology is based on good science? Invariably, these are all no. A good science need not have to turn into a good technology, or an excellent technology need not have to be a good science. Say, for example, you are now talking about some metal strength. Why should a pipe metal strength have be higher than that of a solid pipe, a solid rod? These are some questions that the mechanical engineer students will definitely answer very, very easily. But then, can that be now be put as a part of the science? That is the science part of it, can now be taken into a technology. Is it really feasible to bend a pipe? Yes, the technology part says yes. So think of this, whether there can be a science to technology shift or a technology to technology shift. I'll come to that a little later. Now, what do I mean by science to technology shift? Sometimes some of the students, normally these are very quiet students, but they are excellent thinkers. They will be trying to answer questions in science, not questions in technology. Identify them. See to it that there are fundamental questions of science being answered. It need not have to go into technology. Someday or the other, some other student will come, take this part of the science, a part of that science understanding, and take it to a technology. So every project need not have to be a technology itself. It can be a science project also. A technology to business. Can a technology be converted into a business? Many times yes, many times no. What are the pains and the gains for that? How do you identify? Now, when you see to it that the students bring out a business plan when they are presenting their project. Now, business plan has to have identification of the target group, identification of multiple use, cost calculations, layoff periods, commercialization issues, and then returns. What should you look in a proposal? If you are looking at a technology proposal, is it commercially viable? Quite often, as slightly older generation, because there is a generation gap between us and the students who are there. Many of you may not have it. Yes, few of you do have it. That's a generation gap of at least 10 to 12 years difference between your age of your student and you. What you think is commercially viable, the student will say, no, it's not commercially viable because it's an obsolete idea. There are already 10 such ideas which are there in the market. And what the student would say is commercially viable. You may not agree with that. You will say, who will think of a different type of a bag when there are thousands of bags left here? They'll come out with a plan saying that this bag is meant for a certain purpose. This bag actually ends up a solution for a particular issue. So hear to them carefully and then see whether there is a plan B, because invariably plan A may fail. 99% of the times we find that the plan A fails. So is there a plan B? Then who are the team members? How or why they should form a team? Is it confined to one field? As I said, see to it that the student choose a topic which has multiple fields and intervene only when it is required. Allow them to manage things themselves. Students are damn good in managing. They are quite resourceful. Questions to be asked. When you talk to a student or open up this topic and say you choose your file, you choose a project for yourself. Ask the student, from 5 years from now, what do you want to be? 10 years from now, what do you want to be? And when do you want to be financially independent? If you ask these 3 questions before they start choosing for a project, definitely they come out with wonderful projects, because they will ask themselves, can this project make myself financially independent in 5 years, financially independent in 10 years, or how do I go around with that? Quite often I find youngsters telling, beggars are not choosers, sir. Wherever we get a job, we'll go there. How can we choose for a job? But then I'll tell you, beggars are the best choosers. We educated are not choosers. A beggar can choose whether he should be begging in this particular lane or in the next lane. Within that lane itself, the beggar can choose whether he should go stand in front of this car or the next car. Can you choose that? So beggars are best choosers. So be a beggar in the beginning so that you can now choose it. What have you planned for? Now, is your plan meant for making things work? When you are taking up after your degree, after your student has finished the degree, is the student ready to work for 5 hours? Is the student ready to work for 10 hours? Or the work during odd times? Work at your own pace? So please ask these questions to the students. Don't expect an answer from them, but ask them and leave it. This will make them start thinking how I should be working, because till then they wouldn't have planned how they would be working. Then the next question that you will have to ask a student before they choose a topic or the project is, what is the job that you want? Do you want to be a BPO analyst? Do you want to go into IT sector, a data analyst? Nothing wrong with these jobs, but are you really trained for it? You have taken biotechnology, and if you want to become a data analyst, why did you take biotechnology? Or if you want to go into a BPO, why have you taken biotechnology? If you want to go to IT sector, why have you taken biotechnology? These are some questions that you need to be asking the students before they choose their project. Once these questions are asked, then everyone has their own work. You tell your student that this project, you have to fix a timeline. And what is your timeline? You cannot have a project which is going to run for 6 months when your project time is 4 months. See to it that the time limit given for a project which is 4 months is actually 3 months, because the last 1 month is actually firefighting. They wouldn't have completed the project, then you have to do a lot of firefighting. Then the other thing that you have to ask each of the students to look is, what are you? Are you a part of the problem? Are you a part of the solution? And if you are a part of the problem, what part of the problem? If you are a part of the solution, what part of the solution, and why you are part of that? Why you are part of the problem? Why you are part of the solution? There are many people who are a part of the problem. There are many people who are a part of the solution, but then we need both of them to make it into a good project. Then the question that I ask the students quite often when I'm talking to the students is, why do you want to make others rich? Not all companies offer shares, and when they pay you 10, they expect 100 out of it. That's because you are getting 10, but look at the company. They're paying for your place, they're paying for your office space, they're paying for your electricity in the office, they're paying for all the establishments in the office, including the parking area, to the road taxes, to everything. So when they are actually paying 10, they are actually paying you 40, because the rest 30 is all the establishment charges that they are paying. And then you also have your boss. The boss has a super boss, the super boss has another super boss, so on and so forth, including the MD of the company. The minute you join a company, please remember 0.1 or up till 1% of your salary is drawn by your MD. So all that adds up and makes it almost to 80% or 80 rupees when they are paying you 10 rupees to you. So that's the reason why they expect to get 100. If they don't get 100 out of you, then they are not breaking even. They have to get at least 80 to break even and at least 100 to make some kind of a profit. So they expect 200 out of you, not even 100. Then you're always, when you have joined a job or you're taken up a job, you always have the fear of losing the job. Now look at who is the one who doesn't have the fear of the job. All those people, like our maidservants, the masons, the carpenters, they never have a fear of losing their job. But we, the educated, always have the fear of the job because we do not know what to fall back on. If we lose this job, we do not know what has to be done. So do you really enjoy doing it, or do you want to be on tenterhooks all the time and then praying that you don't lose your job and continue with the job, working more than 20 hours a day, not even 5 hours or not even 10 hours. In the beginning, I'd asked whether you work for 5 hours or 10 hours, but now, as we in real terminology put, we work as if your ass is on fire. Then the next thing that you have to ask the students is, what is your passion? Can you make your passion into your profession? One of the most important things is any project or any profession, you have to be passionate about it. If you're not passionate about it, you are unfit. Say that you have become a teacher. If you're not passionate about your teaching, then you're unfit. You're cursing yourself for being in that place. You curse the students, you curse the management, you curse everyone. And ultimately down the line, what happens? You're cursing yourself, you're cursing your family is not happy, you're not happy, then you have all the lifestyle disorders that you can think of. Can you decide now? Look at our life. Our parents or probably our grandparents were struggling for 2 square meals a day. Our parents also, or sometimes, they were struggling to become middle class. Now we are all from a middle class family. Now what are we now looking out for? What is a middle level or middle class? Middle class is the one who lives for the society. Look at the lower class, look at the higher class. They don't live for the society. Middle class always live for the society. I have worn this shirt and I'm sitting here because if I wear a t-shirt and sit in front of you, you people will start laughing, saying that, what is this man? He has come to give a talk and is wearing a t-shirt. But when Bill Gates stands up in a t-shirt and gives a talk, you all applaud because he doesn't care. So we, the middle class, actually live for the society. We live for the neighbor. We never live for ourselves. Have we ever tried asking, are we comfortable with this? We don't do that. So what are we working for? So we don't have struggle for the 2 square meals. We are already a middle class, but then we are still struggling. The next question is, once you have decided a few topics, how do you make a team? Ask the students to make a team. Invariably, what happens is they'll pick up their own friends. But then tell them that this is the golden rule for making a team. Whenever you're making a team, you have to have a troublemaker to identify the problem. A student who can make trouble from literally anything, because they are the ones who can identify a problem. Then there will be people who are the part of the problem. There'll be people, you give them anything, the best of the things, they can still find fault with that. In Kannada, we have a saying that a good mother-in-law is the one who can find stones even in curd. So there are people like that, but you need to be a part of that team because they can identify mistake in anything and everything so that you can iron out that particular mistake. Part of the process, there are 2 types of people who are a part of the goal. There are people who are interested in the process. There are people who are interested in the final goal. Final goal, you can easily identify these people. They are not worried as to how to reach that particular goal. They will somehow manage to go there. And when it is being presented, they are in the stage. They show off their face. Till that time, you wouldn't even see them where they were, but they know how to get to the final goal. So, but there are people who work out every minute detail. So they are the ones who actually are part of the process. So you make a team with a person who is a part of the process. You also have to make a person or get a person into the team who can make that final goal. You need to have a miser to keep the financial stocks. Otherwise, you do not know where that money is coming and where that money is going. You will spend 80% of the money for the mundane things. And when your finances are required, then you'll find that you hardly have any money. It's like building a house. The foundation and the structures cost literally nothing. So you'll be very happy when the structures are coming saying that we have hardly used around 40% of the money. But then when the finishing starts, you do not know where the drains are. The money simply gets drained off. And in the end of the day, the time of what do you say, in the Grapravesham, you are literally with a begging bowl. So that should not happen. So there should be a miser in the team who keeps stock of the finance. Then there should be a business manager who can find out at least how to get 100 out of the 10. There should be one person who is very good in talking, who's good in marketing things. So a team will make a wonderful team. Need not have to be that there should be 6 people in that team. There are many cases that there can be someone who can wear 1 or 2 more hats. So that depends on your idea and your requirement. But then see to it, a team contains all these people so that the same team is a very successful one. Then how do you go around? Ask your student, consider that this project is something that you're going to take in your future. Are you going to get money by yourself? That is bootstrap funding. Are you taking the money from yourself and getting that money from your parents and then finance the whole project yourself? That's what we call as the bootstrap. Then are you going to take partners? Now, if you are taking partners, what is the terms and conditions of that partner? Because there are many cases where in venture capitalism, they put just around 20 or 25% of that money that is required for the company, and then they claim that they have owned the company. So it should not happen that a technocrat should also get equal shares or more shares than the venture capitalist or the financial partner. Are you ready to pitch for funds? Can you really pitch for funds? So within your college itself, see that within the students itself, they do some 1 or 2 pitching for funding so that they understand what is pitching, and the other students can act as venture capitalists and ask all sorts of nonsense questions so that they are used to getting questions of that type and giving answers for that questions. Then in the beginning, I said, is that idea an innovative idea? Then I said that I'll come back to that later. What is your idea? Is it a greenfield idea that this particular product is not there at all? It's something totally innovative, totally new. Or is it an improvisation of the already existing idea? Or is it automation of an existing method? So if you look into any of the projects, they fall into these 3 groups. It can be a greenfield, it can be an improvisation, it can be automation. You cannot expect greenfield to come every day. Greenfields come very, very rarely because these are ideas that are totally out of the world, and then very few of them get that. Okay, what next? Please allow your students to talk to people, because only when they talk to people, we always think that we have a great proposal and people are up there to grab that proposal. No. Only when you talk to the people, then you find out how shallow your project is or how shallow your idea is. Selected groups can be permitted to pitch for some funding calls. See to it that your college has a policy or the institution has a policy that some of these students are sent for some pitching for fund call. They can either be pitching for being an incubatee in some other institutions or for funding or something like that. Now what happens is this gives them a confidence, and this also tells them how they can go around in the real life world. Sometimes they may be successful in getting their fundings also. Talk to if your institution already has an incubation center, talk to those incubation center people, invite some of those incubation center people to evaluate some of these proposals. Many times what happens is the incubation people might also take those proposals and put it as a part of their proposal also, and take your student also with them. Okay, I've completed my talk. If there's any discussions, I'll be very, very happy to answer if I can.
Dear
Is there any questions in the chat box?
By putting in the chat box. Sir, I have few questions in my mind for your first 10 minutes talk.
Yeah, please.
Why FSSI is not mentioning, monitoring the levels of the MNCs?
Actually, every part of the MNC is being managed. I'll give you some examples where it is managed. There was an advertisement, is calcium enough in milk? I don't want to name the company. I'm sure that all of you have seen that advertisement. That advertisement is taken off. But please remember, the companies come out with these advertisements knowing very well that it's going to be brought down. But then by the time that the government brings it down, they have already done the advertisement for 2-3 months. Yes. Then what is the next way out? Earlier, the maximum that a company could be fined was 1 lakh. Now it can be more than 10 crores with an imprisonment. And slowly and steadily, you'll find that these advertisements are not coming. Coming to the ingredients. Now, what happens is during processing, many of these ingredients are required. Otherwise, you can't have a processed food at all. So under such conditions, these are requirements, and these are accepted food ingredients around the world. You would ask me, why is phosphoric acid requirement in food? In many places, phosphoric acid is used. But this is one place where phosphoric acid is used directly as phosphoric acid. That's the reason why I brought out that particular one. And I also wanted to tell you that only because the youngsters keep drinking this in a large quantity. And see, look at our physiology, because you're all biotechnology people. I can talk a little about physiology. I didn't want to go into the science part of it. Your stomach is acidic, and now you are drinking another acid. What happens? Your thirst doesn't get quenched. Actually, your thirst increases. So there are some other ingredients like sugar and all of them, which brings in the craving. So what happens is once you have taken a drink, if you have taken a drink of a fruit juice or a glass of water, your thirst gets quenched. But you have this cola drinks, your thirst actually increases. So you go on drinking more and more. So end of the day, if you're drinking it for around 3 or 4 days continuously, then you'll find that your body starts craving for it and you're getting addicted to it. This is what the companies do. Many of these ingredients have been identified and they are accepted for the food in various places. Now, what FSSAI is trying to do is we are trying to finalize and what is the percentage to be added and so on and so forth, standardizing it. In a country like ours, standardizing a food product is extremely difficult because there are no two houses which brings out the same type of an food. Think of an idli, a very simple one. Each house has a different type of an idli. How do we standardize it? But in a Western world, you can standardize it to that extent that a burger's bun is so standardized. The number of sesame seeds on a burger's bun is also standardized. We can never do that in our country. Yeah.
For the same product, now we are global in marketing as well as consumption also. Same product having two types of label, one for India and one for US. Why we are permitting, sir?
That's because each of the country has their own requirements. Because we cannot see, we have a major organization under which all the countries work. We call that as a codex. Codex Alimentarius gives us the general guidelines, but then they are not the authority to say that the implementing authorities to say that you have to do it. Every country takes it as per their requirements. See, there might be an ingredient in your country, say for example, poppy seeds. We all love this one, kheer made out of poppy seeds. Whatever the name each of our region has, but the whole country uses it. But you carry 50 grams of poppy seeds into Singapore, you will be imprisoned for 6 months. 50 grams of poppy seed, you are imprisoned for 6 months. If ever you carry 100 grams, then you are imprisoned for 2 years. So each of the country has its own requirement. So based on that requirement, the label changes. Say, for example, the weights. Ounces are still used in many countries. And we have the SI metric system. So the weights differ. And when you convert that ounce to grams, then you have weights like 39 grams. You look into some of the chocolate packs, you'll find 39 grams or 172 grams and so on and so forth. So this is based on that particular country's requirement. We also have something called as geographical indicator foods or GI tagged materials. GI tagged material, say for example, Mysore. We have Nanjangud Rasbale, Mysore silk, all this. So the size of the Nanjangud Rasbale cannot be defined by European Union because it is GI. It has to be defined here. So whatever is the GI defined here will be accepted there. Yeah. You're muted.
Sir, putting the ingredient in coded words, don't you think we are something hiding from the common people who do not know about it?
We are. That's why I said that from March onwards, now the companies have all requested for another 6 months also. From November 1st, it came actually into existence, and from March, it becomes mandatory that the labels are going to be different, where the ingredients are going to be given in the normal names, what we all understand it. But then this has been the practice throughout. And this is a practice from the British times, and we continued it. Only now we are changing it. So the codes, so that people don't understand it. Fundamentally to see that people don't understand it. But now we have Google GAN, we can understand what they are. Now we also have apps where the apps can read the label and tell you.
And sir, when it comes to probiotic, you have worked a lot in probiotics.
Yeah.
But Indian market, especially our Indian brands like Nandini or other things, they are not into that product, right? So what is stopping them from getting into probiotics, sir?
See, the
because Yakult is doing well in the market, but Nandini don't have a flavored probiotic drink.
Yeah. The definition of probiotic is there should be a minimum of 10 to the power 8 cells. Okay, this can be a science question for many of you all. Yakut has a count of more than 10 to the power 10, but continues to keep that in a count of more than 10 to the power 10, even after 6 months, or even after 3 months, or even after 1 month. We need to know how they have done it. This we call it as biostatic cultures. How do they make a biostatic culture? This is overridden by multiple patents. It's very difficult to get it out. So there are companies in India also which have brought in probiotic products, but then because the definition says that when you are consuming that particular product, it should contain more than 10 to the power 8 number of cells per gram. This becomes quite a difficult thing to manage and maintain that particular count, number one. Number two, all lactic acid bacteria are not probiotic organisms. There are at least around 6 or 7 crucial questions to be answered to see whether they are probiotic or not probiotic. So you need to be answering these questions to put them as a probiotic organism in the market. So slowly and steadily, there are many startups now which have come out with real wonderful probiotic material, both starter cultures and both ready to drink, ready to eat material and all that. So we do have a number of probiotic products, and Amul also has come out with around 2 products which are probiotic. One is an ice cream. Yeah.
And sir, since most of the participants are faculty members, can you tell us some trust areas where we can start working on so that we get financial assistance from the funding agency for our projects?
Okay.
In your like
yeah.
food and other things.
Yeah, as I put that, see, there are 2 things. One, is it a science or is it a technology? Sorry for telling it frankly. For all technology college people, it's better you go into technology than into science, because there are research institutes who will beat you hands down when it comes to fundamental science of understanding and all that. So start working on this one, what is that, technology part of it. Okay, one of the project that we are working with, one of the where I'm a mentor and working with one of the startup group is, see, you have idli dosa batter. I'm sure that in Bangalore and all this region, you all buy it almost on a weekly basis. Now, have you ever thought, why should the batter have only a 48-hour shelf life? I'm working with a group where we are trying to find out whether we can have a batter which is 1 month, which has a shelf life of 1 month, has all the characters of a batter, gives you the right product, everything, but has a shelf life of 1 month. Now, what is important, or why is it important? There are pancake batters in US market which are shelf stable for 1 month. Why is it important here? You look into ask any idli batter or a dosa batter maker. He will tell you that 30% of it comes back as returns. Sometimes as high as 50% comes back. And that's the reason why that idli and dosa batter is so expensive, because they have to include that cost of that 30%. Okay, what happens to that 30% is the second question. Okay, so what my suggestion would be to all your faculty is, look at a problem at your end. Think of a problem at your end. A problem which is very, very common in your college, very, very common in your housing area. Take up that problem. Do a proper research. What happens in technology conversion is we don't do a proper scientific, literature review. Only when your science is strong, your technology is strong. Need not have to be the other way around. And I already told you, all good science need not have to go into a good technology. So take that particular part of the science which is required for technology. Say that you have a waste. Because why I am talking about waste is, please remember, 1/3 of you are already getting your funding because of waste, and 1/3 of your students will be getting a job in the waste management or environmental field. Find an alternate use for it. There are many people who have come out with many wonderful things. I met an entrepreneur recently who has come out with an areca nut frond, which we all know being used as plates. He has found a biological method of making it into soft material so that he can make it into a product like a leather. And he's making diary covers out of it or foot mats out of it and all that. Beautiful colored, beautiful materials. But then it's quite expensive for an Indian, so he's exporting it to Netherlands. He has got export orders from the Netherlands where they are buying it. There are a lot of improvements required. There are many problems that is being solved today, but then there is an improvement required. Find out what is the improvement required in your own area. Identify a problem. You may think that it's a very small problem, but then when you're dwelling deep into it, then you find that it's actually a massive problem. And there are thousands of people working on it and they have not been able to get it. You have one great advantage, please remember that. As biotechnology faculty and biotechnology students, you understand science, that's the biology, and you also understand the technology part. And you are one of the best bridges between the technology and the science. Improvement of technology is an area which is massive. Please look into any of the equipments. These are not developed for this particular purpose. They were developed for some other purpose. Now has been adopted into this. Now, can you rework the whole thing and make it into a totally different equipment? If you have a background of agriculture, choose a topic from agriculture. If you have a background of finance and business, choose a topic of finance and business. Now, there is a huge lacuna for reading of labels, as I said. Can you now make these labels into a much more readable one? Can you have an app wherein you have an app which can read the label and tell the lay people as to what are all the problems with this? Say, for example, there is a preservative, benzoic acid or metabisulfate. There are thousands of people who are allergic to sulfur dioxide. Can you now tell them that this is allergic? There is an allergen warning. How to identify allergen warning? And among that list, which is the ingredient which is the allergen? Okay. I came across a company which is already into production of identifying in a packed food whether the food is spoiled or not. What they have done is, see, whenever a food gets spoiled, it's a microbial spoilage. When there is a microbial spoilage, amines, that is, if protein is degraded and amines are produced. Amines and amines are produced. And these amines and amines can actually traverse out of the packing material. But then the quantity may be so low that you will not be able to identify it. So what this company has done is they have chosen a particular wavelength of NIR, near infrared, which can penetrate into the plastic, identify the amine, and then say what is the concentration of the amine or amine. Now, if your concentration of the amine is X, then the food is safe. If it is X plus 1, then the food is getting spoiled. If it is X plus 2, the food is really spoiled. If it is X plus 3, then it cannot be reused. Okay. I also came across a company. Please remember, even the best of the chocolate companies have returns or unused stock, which is approximately around 10%. You may say that it's hardly 10% or 2% or 1%, but then think of a city like Bangalore, where at least 10 tons of chocolates come in a day. Consider it as 1 ton of chocolate coming into it in a day. Now, if I say 10 tons, you'll say, no, we don't get that. Actually, Bangalore gets almost around 12 tons of chocolates per day. So even if it is 1% of 1 ton, so you have 10 kgs of waste chocolate. What do you do with that? At present, companies are, because they want to safeguard their names of their company, they don't want to dispose it off, they don't want to give it free, because the minute you give free, some journalist will come and say all food spoiled, this company, all the food has got spoiled and they are giving it free of cost. So what they are doing is they are burning it or they are incinerating it. There are companies which takes this and incinerates it. They don't even open the packing, they incinerate it. So I came across a company which actually takes this material, converts it into animal feed. And huge area of opportunity for all of you. Animal feed is one, because the animal feed industry and human food industry is competing with each other for the same land space. And our animal requirements is much, much higher. What are all the material that you can convert into animal feed? A huge area. And in Bangalore, you also have a National Animal Feed Research Institute in Hebal. So you can think of any material which can be converted into animal feed. Okay, you don't want to do that. Can you now find an equipment to strip open the packing of all this material? 10% of material comes in. They come in various types of packing. Can you now have an equipment designed? Then you'll say, I'm not a mechanical engineer, but then please think about it. You have to give the idea to a mechanical engineer, only then they can design it. You have to open up a carton packing. You have to open up a aluminum foil packing before you actually get the food. And then what do you do with this carton packing? Carton packing is not very easy to recycle because it has a plastic coating on the top. Then there is a printing ink on it, all this. So what do you do with that? So you think that these are very small problems, but then a city like Bangalore, when it gets chocolates worth almost a ton per day. In fact, that particular entrepreneur said they are handling around 500 to 600 kgs of waste chocolates per day, when the actual chocolate production or the waste chocolate production is approximately around 5 tons per day in Bangalore. So if you have to handle 5 tons per day, then how do you manage it? Offals from this one, what is that? Butcher houses. A major pollutant, but can easily be converted into animal feed. One of the important things that you'll have to look for an animal feed is protein source. There are so many protein sources. You go and talk to any of the food industry. You go to a chakki mill where you get your atta powder. He gets around 0.1% of waste per day. Go to a large mill, that 0.1% is equivalent to 2.5 tons per day. So think of a problem in your area, take up that problem, do a proper research, you will be able to get fundings. What is important is you have to have your objectives very clear. Don't be over ambitious. Try to tackle one problem at a time. Don't try to tackle multiple problems. You cannot handle it. You handle one problem at a time, your objectives are very clear, then you'll definitely be able to get your funding. There are thousands of places where you can get funding. Don't think of only governmental fundings. Yeah. On what basis the expiry date is given? Yeah, Mr. Lokesh, expiry date is based on what we call as the degradation of one of the food material, not all the food material. Say, for example, there is a starch or a protein or a fat. Does that fat become rancid? Under this condition, under this packing, see, India is a very unique country. You have minus 45 in Leh and Ladakh. You have plus 45 or plus 55 in Rajasthan and even in Bidar and Gulbarga also. So you need to have a food packing system which can handle both minus and plus, minus 45 and plus 45 also. So under these conditions, we have what is called as an accelerated method of identifying whether the food has got spoiled or not. It is not just microbial spoilage alone We always think that it is only microbial spoilage. It is not actually only microbial spoilage. Quite often, the fat that we have used may become rancid. The protein that we have used may start deteriorating. Say, for example, you have a prawn dish made out of prawn, or any crustacean dish made out of crab or prawn or krill or any of them. The proteins are very, very delicate. So you keep that protein with any fat material for more than 5 days, they deteriorate and they start stinking. And that's the reason why fish food stink, because they have very, very fragile proteins, but then excellent source of protein, but then they are very, very fragile. So based on one of the ingredient getting deteriorated, we bring the expiry date. It is not just microbial count alone. Microbial count is an indicator. Yeah.
So when it comes to coffee bean processing, a lot of waste is generated. Any value-added product is coming out of that waste, sir? Especially the food kernel.
Yes. See, we have in value addition, we have a scale, a high value product and a low value product. The least value product from a coffee waste, when you're producing coffee, especially when you're making filter coffees and all that, the coffee powder. Remember, coffee and tea are the two products which generate the maximum waste. You are actually using 0.1% of the product. So 99.9% of the product is a waste, starting from the farm to the consumer end. So this particular product, the last product, the lowest product is fertilizer. The best or the costliest product is cups with which you can drink the same coffee. There are companies, there is a Swedish company which is making excellent cups, beautiful cups with your company's logo put on that and all that. There are single use cups, there are multiple use cups. And in India, we are using it in multiple purposes. We are using it as biofertilizer. We are using, see, you have now all have got used to what is called a soil-less agriculture, or you would be having pots in your house where you don't use soils. You use peat moss and so on and so forth. One of the ingredients that goes into production of this peat moss, because it's not actually peat moss, it's actually coir pith degraded material. And one of the material that goes into is tea leaves and coffee leaves. There are unscrupulous people also who recycle it. There are, yes, I'll give a project for all of you. Once your coffee is extracted, what you have, if you boil that some more, what you have is what is called as the bitter factor. This bitter factor is polyphenolic material. So can now someone extract that bitter factor and find a method of extracting that bitter factor and putting it into beer? Because beer, you need a bitter factor. But that bitter factor in beer is extremely bitter. Can you now reach to the level of bitterness from coffee extract? Yeah.
About the fruit kernel that comes as a waste. While taking the seed out of the fruit, coffee fruit, a lot of kernel is associated with fruit kernel is associated with it. How do you process that, sir? That is also going as a waste, right?
Yeah. Actually, we have developed around 2-3 process. One is to make biofertilizer. As I said, it's the low cost product, but then every estate people would like to use that. Briquettes are being made. Fire briquettes are being made. I don't know whether you people know that or not. Coffee husk is not being permitted to be used in cities, in the hotels, because it generates too much of carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide. So it's banned to be used in hotel industry. So briquettes are being made. But then there is another huge area for in briquettes also. We have multiple levels of briquettes. One is the smokeless briquettes, which is exported from India, made from coconut shell. Then we have a low smoke briquettes, which we all use in our, what do you say, in barbecues and so on and so forth. But then this is a briquette which produces too much of smoke. So wherever there is a smoke requirement, there is a huge area where smoke requirement is there. Can we use this? And one of the things that I would request you all to look in is, can I now use it as a base for producing agarbatti using the flowers that is offered to the god? We already have, in fact, Yogi Adityanath, I don't know how many of you have heard of something called as ODOP, one district, one product. And for Bangalore, it is bakery products. So any entrepreneur who comes out with any of the bakery products, the government gives you a lot of incentive to come out with that. So each of the districts have been given. One state where it has been extremely successful is Uttar Pradesh. So in fact, Varanasi has been given agarbatti or doop as they call it as, and this is made from waste flowers offered to God. And Yogi makes it Yogi Adityanath, the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, makes it a point to carry this, not just this, all his ODOP products wherever he goes, and uses it as a gift material wherever he goes. He doesn't give any other gifts. He gives a pack of all these ODOP products. And I'm sure that many of those exhibitions have come to Bangalore also. The second state which is doing excellently well in ODOP is Kerala. In Karnataka, we are still in the initial stages of ODOP, even though this ODOP is now 4 years old. So think of some of these products of ODOP. Definitely, you can make this, use this as a base and use the flavors from the waste flowers, use them directly. Drying methods are available, and use some of these flowers for coloring, use of some of these flowers for flavors. You can make a wonderful agarbatti and wonderful doop because it produces enough smoke and it gives you flavor and it gives you a sense of what do you say, a godliness, because the flowers of what is offered to the god is given. Yeah, you have to find the right binder material. That's very important here. Identifying the binder material which burns continuously and doesn't stop burning in between is a very, very important thing. There are people who have made nice candles also out of it, which gives a sort of a sparkling effect because you powder that and use this. So whenever that comes in contact with the fire, it burns. So it gives a sparkling effect.
Yeah, participants, if you have any queries, please post it or unmute yourself and you can discuss with us.
Sir, we have some questions in the chat box. On which basis the expiry date is given?
Oh yeah, madam, I already answered that.
Pack.
Will there be a restriction, age restriction for buying food packs? Yes, there are some age restrictions. Say, for example, Diet Cola, none of us look into that particular product, the label of that particular product when we are buying it. Actually, what happens is it's very clearly written. It should not be given for young children. It should not be given for pregnants. It should not be given for feeding mothers and so on and so forth. But then that's the area where I find the largest number of people buying it. So there are age restrictions for some products. Say, for example, alcoholic products. There are states where only those people who are above 25 can buy it. There are states where you can buy it when you're 21. There are states where you can buy it when you're 18. So there are restrictions, but then these restrictions are not universal. It is product based. I thought you people will be asking me questions on technology part, which I'm not really prepared with. Then the second part of my talk, which is the actual talk. Yeah. Any other questions from any of the participants? I've taken 1 hour for 17 minutes. Have I overrun my time? I think I've been given only 1 hour.
So it's one and a half hour. So we can take
Few more questions. Yes. Any other questions from the participants? Okay. Please develop an ecosystem within your colleges. once you develop an ecosystem for entrepreneurship, why it is very, very important for a faculty also is, one, even if one of your students succeeds in getting funding, it's a feather in your cap. And after that, you start getting fundings. Once you have developed this ecosystem, there's a huge learning curve for you because you are getting a new challenge every time and you are challenged and you learn a lot. When a new challenge comes in, new problems also come in, and then you trying to find solutions for that new problem. Quite often what happens is there economic return? That's very, very important. Find out whether your college has a policy, because these are the students who are going to bring in consultancy projects for you 5 years later or 3 years later or 10 years later. Your alumni are the ones who brings you the projects. Every institute has become great only because of its alumni, not because of its faculties. Faculties support the alumni. Alumni brings in the money. Look into any of those great institutions. Their alumni are very, very strong and they bring in these projects. And when they bring in this project, they actually bring in a lot of glory to the institution. Find out if your institution has a policy of sharing the profits of consultancy projects with you. Find out if your institution has a method of finding out whether you can own shares in some of these companies which you are mentoring. Maybe let them put a cap on the shares. You can't ask for 70% of the shares. The maximum that you can ask is around 5% of the shares in that company. So what happens is your portfolio keeps on building. Even if one of the company becomes, I'm not saying a unicorn, $1 million company, even if it becomes, say around that company is taken over by another company for say around 2 to 3 crores 2 years later or 5 years later, and your percentage share is 3%. So you have earned that money, whatever you have spent. So once you have this ecosystem, then automatically that keenness of developing new process, challenging your brain comes in. And once that comes in, then it's a never ending process. Why are IITs so big? Why are IIMs so big? Because their salaries are meager. Their consultancy projects or their consultancy salaries are at least 20 times higher than the salary that they earn. Please remember, these are all white money. These are not black money. You pay tax for it and you have it. So please see to it that ecosystem is developed in an institution and entrepreneurship parks are developed in institutions. Go mingle with them, talk to them, brainstorm them, hit them hard, hit them so badly that they come out with wonderful solutions. You cannot even imagine what type of solutions the students can come out with. Okay, please throw some light on food packaging startups. There's a huge requirement of food packaging because see, there is one company in US, I think, a young girl came out with this great idea. You take any of your packaging material, whether it's a toothpaste or anything. You have an outer carton. The outer carton is covered with a plastic. And inside it, there are trays made out of cardboard in which some toothpastes are kept. And each of the toothpaste is now packed in a carton. You open the carton, you have the toothpaste inside it, which is basically made out of plastic. Now, do you need this many packing? Can you now remove that carton packing for the individual toothpaste? One girl in US came out with this idea and she found that actually companies can actually earn 10% more profit without making that carton. Many companies adopted it. What do you do with that carton? You simply throw it. Then why do you need that carton? Okay, there's a huge requirement of biodegradable material in packaging industry. In fact, areca nut is one packaging material that has come in. Okay, being technology college, I'll throw a challenge to you. You have all seen quite a number of hotels packing food. There is a bottom tray, there's a top tray. The top tray can be a plastic and it is welded together or sealed together. Now you bring that. Can you put that into microwave directly? Aluminum does not permit the microwaving. So you need to have a microwave material. Now, can you think of a plastic material or a polymer material or a biodegradable material which can go into microwaves? Because microwaves are a very common thing in our life, day-to-day life. So, but then in Indian food, we have a major issue. The challenge that I'm giving you is think of a thali with at least rice in the middle and chapati rolled in one end, which is invariably folded in a plastic foil. Please throw that plastic foil so that it can be heated microwavically. Then you have a lot of curries and all that. But you need two products in that, which you don't want it to be hot. In that thali, one is either a raita or a curd. The other one is pickle. Do you want a pickle which is hot? Can you now make a plate, maybe a biodegradable plate or a non-biodegradable plate, wherein these two areas do not get heated or they are microwave, what do you say, barred, or I don't know what is the word, shadow area or whatever is the word that you want to use it at. So that you put the whole plate into the microwave, you get a hot lunch, except these two places which are not heated. You bring out that innovation, every hotel will buy it. Every hotel will buy it. Every food packing industry will buy it. We need a huge revolution. In fact, one of the biggest revolutions that has happened is in the food packaging industry. The greatest revolutions have all come in food packaging industry, but we need much more revolutions from it. Think of all those waste material that you're generating. Bring a recycled food material. Okay. See, there is a company in Mumbai. There's a company in Mumbai. See, you say that I'm using only a Tetra Pak or a simple packing material. Please remember, there are multiple layers. As I said, the cartoon has a cardboard. Then on the top, there is a plastic. In between, there is a printed material, which is made up of printing ink. And the printed material is printed on a paper. So you have, even in a cartoon box, you have four. A plastic, a printing ink, a cardboard, and a paper. Now it's very difficult to recycle this material. Anyone who goes into recycling finds it extremely difficult. How do you strip off the plastic? From each individual packing, how do you strip off the plastic? You take any Tetra Pak. There is an aluminum foil. It may be just 1 or 2 micron thick. But then aluminum foil is a requirement there, because it doesn't permit any of the gases to enter in or the gases to come out. It doesn't allow any liquid to enter in or liquid to come out. But then how do you use that? So there is a company in Bombay or Mumbai which has developed a stripping machine which can selectively remove this aluminum foil. But then it's an extremely slow machine. Can you now make a machine which can remove this 2 micron layer or a 1 micron layer and strip it off? Yeah.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a question. We are working with the food products and we have developed a product which is healthier and does not contain any food preservative. After developing a food product, we go for a marketing survey with only 100% very close nearby. The food product seems to be attractive. But before going to the larger scale, every funding agency says that better you have a large scale marketing or a market survey so that the product should be marketable. From science perspective, it is very excellent. It has healthy properties, but it doesn't mean that in a market level it will be successful. So what shall we do after a large scale marketing survey? The results are not promising. Only few percentage of the people is attracted towards that. Then it should be winded up, sir?
No. I'll give you 3 different propositions for that. First, find out where it failed. That's why I said, how do you choose a team? I put 6 different points as to how you should make a team. There should be a person who finds mistake with everything. Only then they will be able to find the mistakes with your product. Yes. But then what is that problem? Is it the price or is it the product quality? Is it the palatability? Because see, I don't know. I think that you are from Tamil Nadu, if I'm right.
Yes, sir, absolutely right.
Yeah, from your pronunciation, I thought you are from Tamil Nadu. Okay, if you are now serving a Tamil food to a North Indian, he'll definitely not like it, madam. Okay, so you have to now choose the right audience to do that. Okay. Second thing. So then what is that I'm trying to tell you is the first thing is identify the problem. Then you have a solution. Once you have identified the problem, you have a solution. The second thing is when you're doing this particular type of a survey, the first and the foremost thing that you normally try to do is give it to those people whom you know. They'll all say it's very good. So you feel elated that its product is good. Put it in your college fair. Put a number to that, 10 rupees a plate or 20 rupees a plate. Give an anonymous Google form. Ask or a written Google form right there. Don't ask them to write their names, because the minute you say write your name, they are guarded with their comments. Ask them to write the comments. They will come out with wonderful comments. And many of these comments can be sorted out. Most often the food falls flat only for 3 reasons. One, the color is not appealing. Second, the taste is not appealing. Third, the packaging is not appealing. Not because it is healthy or non-healthy. The last thing that you look is whether it is healthy or not healthy. You like to eat a pani puri, knowing very well that the pani is highly adulterated or highly contaminated. You still eat it because it's beautiful to eat.
Taste.
Yes. So it falls flat in these 3 areas. So find out which of these areas you have to improve. It may be packaging, it may be so on. Then what is that? The second part of the question would be, where are you looking at? Are you looking at a Me Too product? What do I mean by Me Too product? There is already 10 different types of water that is available. You have also brought in a water. What is so big in that? There are already 10 waters in that market. You also brought in a market. So you have to beat them by price. You have to beat them by numbers. You produce 10,000 liters per minute. They are producing only 1,000 liters per minute. So you produce 10,000 liters. So you can give it at 2 rupees 50 paisa, whereas the other fellow is giving it 2 rupees 75 paisa. So, but then ultimately the consumer pays 10 rupees to that. Okay, so you can identify what type of a product you are selling. Say that you said your product is a healthy food. Healthy means what? To whom are you directing it? It is for young children that you are directing. Is it for diabetic patients that you are directing? Is it BP hypertension patients that you are directing? Is it nursing mothers that you are directing? Now you give a food which is for hypertension patients to a general population. What is the result that you expect?
They will not agree.
Yes, you expect a negative result. So identify to which area or to whom do you market it? That also I put it in one of the slides.
Yeah.
Then the third and the most important thing, as I said, we cannot standardize the Indian product. A minimum ingredient that goes into an Indian food, hold your breaths. A simple rasam, if I can call it as simple, has 24 ingredients in it. Can you standardize that 24 ingredients, madam?
No, sir.
Literally impossible.
Mm.
So then how do you market it? You have to find a USP, unique sellable point.
Mm.
Then say that this particular product is for this. So identifying a problem and identifying a solution. You have to find a problem and then find a solution, not the other way around. You don't buy a what is a whale and then buy a dress for it. You buy a dress and then buy a whale, right?
Yes, sir.
For men, we
Thank you
say
so much.
you don't buy a tie and then go for looking out for a suit. Okay.
Yes,
So
sir. Got it.
identify these three issues, madam. You will definitely be able to sell it. Don't shell it.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Certainly, we will do all these and then come back to you again, even after the seminar is over, sir.
Sure, madam. I had put my email ID in the end. I'll just type out my email ID in the chat box again if you people want any help.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Any other questions? If there are no questions, I've also crossed my time limit. There are no questions. Let me take this opportunity to thank all the faculty of Oxford College, especially Dr. Manjunath for inviting me into this particular session, and for all the people who have been a participant. I'm an old man. I've just retired. In fact, madam said that I'm heading the department. I'm no more heading the department. I've retired. But then that word is retired, but I'm not tired.
So when you are retired only, you are available to us. Or else you are not available because you are totally occupied in your own research. So it's a time for us to interact with you.
No, but then unfortunately is my wife and my children find it that I've become more busy after I've retired.
Yes, yes.
So that's why I said I'm retired, but not tired. So for all those people who have been participating for this, I hope you have a take-home message from what I said, either from the first part of it or the second part of it. If there is no take-home message, I'm sorry. If there is a take-home message, please implement it. Thanks a lot. Thank you,
sir. Thank you very much for your kind words, and we are greatly impressed your talk. And I request to one more session of yours in the next week, stage 4 or phase 4 of our STTP, because we have new set of faculty members in phase 4, which will be starting from 20th of this month. So
Okay.
I need your help, and you can be a resource person for our next phase also.
I'll choose a different
forward
topic.
The stage to organizers to propose vote of thanks for Dr. Anu Appaiah.
Yeah, I'll choose a different topic. I won't repeat
Yeah,
this.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. It will be different topic. Yeah, no issue in it.
Thank you.
On behalf of the college management, principal, department, faculty, and students, we once again thank you for coming over to this session, sir. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. So, dear participants, with the kind consent of the convener, we are winding up with the session 1 of day 2. Please do join us back for the session 2 at 11:30 with the same link provided to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.